In these United States, the last bastion of what is claimed to be a true democracy, it is the duty of every American to be informed. Unfortunately, the nation's normally reliable information source, the mainstream media, has been revealed as perhaps the most biased and unreliable source of information in our nation. Most polls show that less than 10% of Americans trust information received from the mainstream media, which in election year 2016 was labeled the Clinton propaganda machine, and failed to reveal some of the most troublesome revelations of the decade. However, in the words of George Washington, truth will ultimately prevail where there is pains taken to bring it to light. This video is our pains taken to bring the truth to those Americans willing to fulfill their duty and be informed.
Debate the process and protect the integrity of the true will of the people.
So we do move into the 2008 election cycle with many of the same problems that we had going all the way back to 2000 and the fiasco in Florida.
Some electronic voting machines in West Virginia were selecting McCain when voters actually punched Obama. Yep.
Smartmatic and other voting machine companies are private companies. They have proprietary software that can call a trade secret.
Even the New York Times indicated last week that over 30% of the Acorn registrations are bogus, fraud, or fake. And that should be disconcerting to anyone who cares about free and fair elections.
All right,
the concern is that these fraudulent registrations are going to lead to fraudulent voting. And in a close race, whether it be in Ohio or Nevada or elsewhere, this is where this Acorn scandal, I think, is going to have a potentially explosive impact on Election Day.
Florida, the polls have closed. Florida goes for Al Gore. If we say somebody is carried a state, you can pretty much take it to the bank, book it, that that's true.
Speaker of the House of Florida was Tom Feeney, one of my first introductions to him, and he wanted us to build a vote flipping software.
It takes only a few seconds to insert a computer virus into this voting machine.
I stand by. CNN right now is moving our earlier declaration of Florida back to the too close to call column.
You didn't have to sit across the street in a truck. You could just sit there and punch a button, and the votes all flip.
George Bush is the president-elect of the United States. He has won the state of Florida, according to our projections.
Our presidential election came down to one state where the brother of the man running for president was the governor of the state.
Apparently what has happened is that the Associated Press, they were feeding numbers into us, and then suddenly those numbers changed. First of all, we want to find out what happened.
The leaked data revealed that in critical states, Kerry was ahead in the exit polls in 10 of the 12 swing states.
What I'm telling you is that the numbers changed, and sometimes these things happen.
And hundreds of thousands of votes shift, not in a progressive, incremental way, but in this almost complete, sudden, violent reversal.
Election fraud is not new to the 2016 presidential campaign. The media cover-up is.
Somewhere between 2 and 5%
Betsy, please,
of illegal voters vote.
We've cited so
Those
much
were
evidence.
registered
Stop, or I'm going to have to cut this interview short.
Truth is dangerous, especially when it challenges those in power.
Democratic politico Scott Fovel was our target, and he was more than willing to lead us through the process of how to rig an election.
We did to them when we were in charge, too. So what did we do? We did the exact same thing. Only we manipulated the vote with money and action, not with laws. It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busting people in. Well, you know what? We've been busting people in, you fucking asshole, for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it. So, I mean, I grew up with that idea. You know, they used to bus people out to Iowa. If we needed people out there, we used to bus people out there.
The plan that was discussed was how to bring people from one state into another state to vote illegally.
They could invalidate. Well, okay, let's just say, in theory, if a major investigation came up of major vote fraud that way, how would they prove it and who would they charge?
Scott Fovel He is the National Field Director for Americans United for Change. He used to work for People for the American Way, an organization funded by George Soros. He also has his own company called the Foval Group. He is one of the dark operatives for the Clinton campaign.
We are contracted directly with the DNC and the campaign, both. Yeah. I am contracted to him, but I answer to the head of special events for the DNC and the head of the special events and political for the campaign.
The campaign pays DNC, DNC pays Democracy Partners pays the Foval Group goes and executes the shit on the ground.
We are the primary mechanism as a team. Democracy Partners is the tip of the spear.
Democracy Partners is a private political consulting company with deep ties to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama's White House, and the Democratic National Committee.
I work with Bob Kramer one-to-one all the time. I'm the white hat. Democracy Partners is kind of the dark hat. Bob Kramer is diabolical.
Bob Kramer is Democracy Partners. He is the husband of Jan Schakowsky, a Democratic congresswoman from Chicago, and in 2005, he pled guilty to tax violations and bank fraud. He was convicted and sentenced to 5 months in prison and 11 months of house arrest. He founded Democracy Partners in 2011.
Just for a little orientation, Democracy Partners is kind of a group practice of a variety of consultants that do essentially a wide variety of different kinds of political consulting. Wherever Trump and Pence are going to be, we have events.
Okay.
And we have a whole team across the country that does that. Both consultants and people from the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party apparatus and people from the campaign, the Clinton campaign. My role with the campaign is to manage all that.
So I'm basically Deputy Rapid Response Director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground.
This guy is Aaron Black. He works full-time for Kramer at Democracy Partners. He directs the spontaneous protests at Trump and Pence events. His real name is actually Aaron Minter. We don't know why he uses the name Black.
Nobody's really supposed to know about me. So the Chicago protest, when they shut all that, that was us. It was more him than me, but none of this is supposed to come back to us because we want it coming from people. We don't want it to come from the party.
To be really careful because what we don't need is for it to show up on CNN that the DNC paid for X people to. That's not going to happen.
So, B and I did the Chicago Trump event where we shut down the light bulbs. Yeah.
Zulema Rodriguez and Aaron Black are bragging about a protest last March that turned extremely violent and led the Trump campaign to cancel a huge rally. Fights broke out between protesters and Trump supporters, and 2 Chicago police officers were injured. Based on our reporting, the event was not spontaneous.
I just had a call with the campaign and the DNC. Every day I'm on Black.
We met her at the Republican convention in Cleveland in July.
And then we also did the Arizona one where we shut.
Here we have footage of Zulema at the Chicago rally that was shut down due to violence, clearly working very hard for $1,500. And then more footage in Arizona where protesters shut down the highway, as she also boasted about in the video. Here it appears she's faking a medical emergency for the debate.
You know, I know nothing about this. I'm not, I can't deal with every one of his conspiracy theories.
Here's the thing. The DNC says that they have no evidence to suggest that the activities articulated in the video actually occurred.
Digging into the Elections Commission payroll records online, which is not leaked information but material that is openly available, we find payments made to Zulema Rodriguez directly by Hillary's campaign right around the time of the Chicago riots.
It's unprecedented.